In this video, we'll look at borrowing on Aave. So if we put some crypto on the platform as collateral, we can borrow against that. And I'll go through all of the details here. So firstly, we can come to Aave. I'll link Aave below if you want to get to the site here and then connect our wallet. So I'm going to press connect wallet. I just have a Aave wallet, so I'm just going to connect that on my browser right here. You can use MetaMask or any of the others, it doesn't matter. If you don't have wallets yet or know how to use wallets with DeFi, I'll leave links below to videos on getting set up with Aave and MetaMask, how to get assets into those wallets, right? So from here, we've got our wallet connected and I do have a balance. So now we can actually go ahead and use these different markets. Aave supports many different markets. That's what they call them, but they're actually just different blockchains. So if you go to the markets tab here, I'm on Base. Now you can use Ethereum, you can use any of these blockchains. Ethereum, the Ethereum mainnet, has the largest market. You can see right here the total borrows are about 6 billion, market size is 16 billion. Which blockchain should you use? It doesn't actually matter. They're all going to have different markets, but they all work in the same way, which is there's borrowers and there's suppliers of assets. And so there will be an interest rate that you can either get if you supply assets or you have to pay if you're borrowing assets. It probably is coming down to where you have your assets initially and what assets are supported. Ethereum has the most amount of markets. You can see them all here. So for different tokens, we're just going to focus on ETH for this example. They all, of course, carry ETH for the most part. So we're going to go to, let's say, Base. You can see the market is a lot smaller and there are far fewer assets supported here. It depends on which assets that you actually want to lend and borrow. And then if you're actually borrowing against your assets and you want to use the borrowed asset in other parts of DeFi. So if you're borrowing some ETH against some ETH that you have, you're actually leveraging up, you want to use that in a different protocol, then it obviously is important where you have those assets. You can choose, right? So I'm just going to show you Base for this example. Now from here, you can see there's a supply APY and a borrow APY. If you are borrowing, you first have to supply the assets anyway. So what you have to do is essentially take the borrow APY and the supply APY, and then you get a net APY that you're going to be paying if you borrow. So supply APY is 3% here, borrow APY is, let's say 5%. So your net APY if you're borrowing is 2% that you're paying. You can also see this on the right-hand side, this icon. Occasionally on different blockchains, you may get incentives. This is an incentive running at the moment. And so if you're supplying, you actually get extra incentives in some other token or some other incentive that you might get paid. So if you see that, that's what it is. But that's a different market. Choose the one that is going to be best for you and that you have the assets on the chain that you want. In order to borrow from Aave, we first have to supply some collateral on there. So I'm going to supply some ETH. So click on ETH and we can see this market. Aave works on a system called over-collateralized lending. What this means is that we put collateral on the platform, say $10,000, we can borrow about $8,000 against that. So 80% loan to value of collateral. That gives 20% buffer to Aave to liquidate any positions if the collateral falls in value and we can't potentially pay off our loan. We'll get liquidated before that happens. And the same for everyone else as well. So over collateralized lending, we need ETH on there and then we can borrow ETH against that. So you've got wrapped ETH here. You can switch between wrapped ETH and ETH. It depends which one you want. Wrapped ETH is obviously a lot better for DeFi if you're going to use it in any DeFi protocols like DEXs or anything like that. Probably need some wrapped ETH, but I'm just going to do ETH as an example here because I've got some in my wallet. So we're going to supply first. 3.21% is the APY that we're getting, so we can actually supply that. So I've got some ETH in my wallet here, so I'm just going to supply this, press supply, and then, how much do we want to go ahead and supply? So let's do something like that. Supply this amount. This is the supply APY, which is 3.23%, collateralization enabled. I'm just going to switch the network here, switch. There we are, supply ETH, and then we'll go through that transaction. So it's really simple. You're just literally supplying assets on the platform. If you don't want to borrow against them, then you'll be getting this APY as a supply APY. So you can just see all the details here. We're going to sign and create and confirm that, and that will supply our assets onto the platform. Now, once that's supplied, we have that collateral there to actually go ahead and borrow against. In order to check if you've got your collateral supplied properly and to see all of your positions on a net basis, go over to dashboard here. So this is what I'm doing on this platform, on this network. So I've got Base here. You can see my net worth is this much and my net APY. Because I'm not borrowing yet, I'm getting a net APY of this supply APY. So just because we're supplying, we're now getting 3.24% interest on our Ethereum. You can see the balance here, collateral that I do have a value of that. I'm using this as collateral, right? So if you're not, then obviously you can't borrow against it. So I am using it as collateral and I do have the supply APY right here for my ETH. Now, if you want to just withdraw that, obviously press withdraw, and then you can withdraw that from the platform. We don't want to do that, right? So We just want to keep that on the platform. And you can see that this assets to supply, this is the ETH actually in my wallet right now that I'm not supplying onto Aave. It depends on what your collateral is on the platform as to what you can borrow against it. For Ethereum and Ethereum-like assets, so a lot of the derivatives of Ethereum like wrapped ETH or Coinbase wrapped staked ETH, these are mostly staked Ethereum, and so they have the same price as Ethereum basically, plus any staking rewards. They're known as derivative products of Ethereum or like assets. You can usually borrow a lot of assets against those. Other assets, for example, that may be a little bit more volatile. So if you go down to some of the smaller chains and you have some more volatile assets, they may go into isolation mode, which is, you can't borrow a lot of assets against them, and you'll have a lot smaller amount of money that you can actually borrow against those assets. So what I'll do is show you here. So Ethereum here, and if we go down to borrow info, this is important. So you can see the APY, and this is a variable APY. This is 4.77, but you have to minus off the supply APY that you're getting, right? So the net APY is obviously a lot less than that. Down here, you can see the reserve factor. This is what Aave take from the interest rate paid. So they're actually obviously need to make money as a platform. So that's what the reserve factor is. Up here, max LTV. This is loan to value. Loan to the value of your collateral, 80%. So like I said, 80% of the value of our ETH, we can borrow that. So if you've got $10,000 on, you can borrow $8,000 against it. Liquidation threshold. This is the percentage that you get liquidated at. So if you borrow 80% of your collateral and then ETH falls in price, what happens is that your loan to value has now gone up as a percentage of your collateral. Once that hits 83%, so if your loan that you've taken out is 83% of your collateral, that's when you start to get liquidated. What happens? They just start selling your collateral to pay back the loan to reduce the liquidate or the loan to value that you've got. So the liquidation penalty is 5%. So you're paying 5% as a penalty. You'll be paying some trading fees and everything. They'll sell your ETH or your other collateral, and they'll reduce the loan that you've got to reduce your loan to value. There's nothing else bad. You just get that penalty, and there it is. But obviously we don't want that because it's extra costs. Now let's go ahead and borrow some USDC against our Ethereum. So click on USD coin. This is a stable coin, one for one with the dollar. So we're borrowing dollars against our ETH essentially. On the right-hand side, we're going to click borrow. We can use ETH. The max loan to value is 75% right here. So press borrow. We're going to borrow $50 and the health factor is fine, so no problems. We're going to borrow USDC. We have to go through and approve this in our wallet. Looks to be no problem. Aave v3, we have interacted before, so sign and confirm. We do have to pay a gas fee here, so just make sure that you have some ETH in your wallet to pay for gas, or on the other networks, you just need the layer 1 coin to pay for gas for these transactions. But once that's gone through, you should see now that I'll have a USDC balance in my wallet as well. That says all done. You borrowed 50 USDC. So if you want to add that to your wallet, if you're using MetaMask, just add it to your wallet there. I'm using Rabi, so I don't need to do that. Then we can go back to our dashboard. And now we should see my supplies and my borrows. So you can see my supplies here. APY is 3.25% on all of that ETH that I'm supplying. So I get the APY all of the time from my supply. My borrows, I'm paying 6.24%, but I've only borrowed $50 right here. You can see that here. And my net APY. So net worth is this much. My net APY has now come down because I'm obviously paying some interest, but on a smaller amount. You can see my health factor is green, so no issues here. Like I said, if your collateral falls in value, your loan to value goes up, your health factor will go down. And of course, if you want to sort that out, then you need to put more collateral onto the platform. So that reduces your loan to value. So as long as your loan to value is within the range, no problems, you're not going to get liquidated. But if it does start coming down, put some more ETH or other assets on the platform as collateral that can be used, and that will reduce your loan to value and increase your health factor. Let's go ahead and repay the loan then. So if you do want to repay the loan, we go over to our borrows. You can see repay on the right hand side. We're going to click that. And we're going to use wallet balance here or collateral. So which one do you actually want to use, right? Now, if you're having a US dollar loan or a USDC loan and you need to pay back what you loaned and interest on top of that, then you're going to need some more of that USDC on your wallet. You can, of course, use collateral to pay that off as well, which may be a bit easier, right? So, if you've got some ETH in your wallet and you don't want to switch around, you can just use that ETH. It's going to do the swap for you and everything like that. If you do want to do that, it says approve, right? So in my wallet, I would need to approve wrapped ETH for this transaction first. approve that message, sign the transaction, then you can go ahead and actually carry out that transaction. For me, I'll just pay off what's left of the USDC. So we're going to go max. And as you see, you don't have enough in your wallet to actually pay for the interest because the interest accrues literally every few seconds. No problem, that will be a tiny loan. So I'm going to repay USDC here and then go through that transaction. That repays essentially all of that loan except for the tiny bit of interest that I've got. Make sure everything is okay there, sign and create, confirm. That should pay off the vast majority of that loan. And the tiny bit of interest, we can just leave that racking up. It doesn't make any difference. There are many reasons why people use Aave to borrow against their ETH. The first one is simply taking leverage. So in a bull market, Ethereum can easily go up a few 100%. And our net APY for borrowing right here is around 3.5%. So you get a leverage position, maybe you borrow 20% more. So you have 120% exposure to ETH that can go up a lot, and you're paying a decent APY for that. Probably lower APY than you would get if you want to trade derivatives. A lot of people do that to speculate, but the funding rates you pay are a lot higher usually compared to this, what we're paying right now. The downside of that is leverage introduces extra risk. It's very easy to get liquidated, and then your ETH is gone. So you have to factor that into account. Another way to use borrowed assets from Aave is to carry out other types of DeFi strategy. For example, a popular one is a funding rate arbitrage. People can carry this out individually on Binance themselves. There are other protocols that let you do this as well. For example, Athena, which carry out this arbitrage. I don't want to promote any DeFi protocol. There's definitely risks here with every strategy, and protocols add on the extra risks. But this is how it works. Essentially, you carry out a delta neutral position, which means you should not have any price exposure to the asset. So you take a long position and a short position, they cancel each other out. And so as the price moves, it shouldn't actually move your position at all. You should be taking almost zero price risk. The risk that you're taking is the funding rate. Usually in bull markets, the funding rate is positive. This can go up to kind of 8, 10, 12, 15% during bull markets. And that's great. And we can cream that off the top. However, in a bull market, if you wanted to carry out this strategy, you're giving up your price exposure to the assets because a delta neutral strategy, like I said, long and short cancel each other out. So you take no price exposure. So you're just getting maybe 10, 12%, which is great. But in a bull market, things go up a lot more than that, especially with crypto assets. And so what you can do is use your ETH or other assets in Aave, keep price exposure to it, but then borrow those dollars against it and then carry out those strategies. So this increases the amount of risk, the layering of risk on top. You're borrowing, you're paying interest, you could get liquidated, you're using other platforms. So this is not risk-free, but this is how people can borrow against their assets and use them within DeFi. I'll leave some videos below on those more complex strategies if you want to know more, and some deposit bonus links to the exchanges I use will be down in the description as well. I'm James, this is MoneyZG. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.